Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Zoom room. Expensive graphics coming in. There you go. Today, I'm lucky enough that I have a friend, also player, coach, DOC, master fisherman, Doug Cohen. Doug, tell us what you do in the real world being outside of soccer, and then tell me how many years you've been playing soccer, and we'll go from there.
Okay. So hi, everybody. Doug Cohen with Colonial Soccer Club. So real world, I work for a software company called Vertex. We're a global software company that helps basically the Fortune 500 deal with the exciting world of taxes, primarily sales tax in the US and VAT globally. So, but that's what I do for a real living. And for the past 5 years, I've been a volunteer director of coaching for Colonial Soccer Club.
That's awesome. So let's take you back. We should have back in time. When did you start playing soccer? What's your first memory? And what club and area did you grow up playing in?
Okay. So, yeah, I guess I've been playing soccer for over 45 years. I know I'm old, so your audience may not be able to appreciate that. But first memory, I remember in elementary school that Pele was playing for the New York Cosmos, and that was a big deal. But I didn't really know what soccer was or who Pele was, which, believe it or not, was probably around somewhere mid-70s, maybe like 75-ish. And then when I entered the junior high, I was signed up for rec soccer at what then was Plymouth Soccer Club, which is now Colonial Soccer Club. So I'm basically coaching in the club that I grew up in. This was this was my second year. So Plymouth Soccer Club was founded in '76. I think my first season was '77, so this is 1978, and we were all the teams had NASL, National American Soccer League name, so we were the Cosmos. That's me, front and center with the ball.
See ya.
The funny story there is that I didn't know any positions in the game, and so when the coach asked me what position I played, I just said goalie because it was the only position that I knew. And I also knew that you could use your hands, which I was not very good with my feet. So that was 1978. So this was probably one of the earliest recollections of playing for Plymouth Soccer Club. So it was fun.
That's cool.
Notice there's no branded jerseys. Everyone has on different shorts and socks. Kind of the way, I know I'm sort of dating myself, but it was good. That is sentimental to the good old days.
Definitely. And do you know the guys in your team there? Are you still in contact with any of them? Do you know, or is that going way back?
No, there's a couple that I'm still in touch with on this team. Now this was rec soccer, so we'll fast forward a little bit later to travel, and those players I'm still both from the travel and the high school team I'm still in touch with a fair amount. So yeah, that was my earliest introduction to soccer. So I'll fast forward. I'm going to stop sharing for 1 second.
Certainly.
And see if I can get to the next picture.
So you played rec, and then rec was high school ball big then at all?
It was okay.
So tell us about this one then, Doug.
Yeah, so this is a couple years later, and I picked this one for a couple reasons. In the center, you'll appreciate this, Gary, is Pat Fitzgerald, my coach, who had a huge influence in my life, as well as a lot of the players in the club. He was an Irishman who lived in London before coming to the U.S. So he was an Irishman who supported Chelsea back in the day when Chelsea really was not that good. But he made the game fun. His practices again, this is things that your viewers can relate to. There were no drills. Our practices were we showed up and we played, and that was it. We just played. If it was an hour and a half practice, we played for an hour and a half. That's all we did. And
my favorite type of practice.
Yeah, and I don't think it was because he didn't know what to do or how to instruct us. I just think he knew that that's kind of what we like to do and why we showed up. And so, this was before the days of pugs or, even Corver goals. I think we just laid down a couple sneakers or bags or whatever we had, made small goals and played. So, again, I know I'm dating and then sounds sort of like an old man talking about the good old days, but I do think there was a lot of good things that came out of that. The goalkeeper, the guy next to me, says, "This is me on the end," and this is Chris Young. He actually went on to also become a coach at the high school, Plymouth White Marsh High School. He's a chemistry teacher at the high school. But yeah, so really good memories. And again, I think I'm still in touch with Pat. He still follows Chelsea, and I still follow Chelsea. So, but it's interesting how, for you coaches out there, especially the younger coaches, you do have an influence on your players' lives. So you need to take that into consideration and think about, your actions. And again, not to be too preachy here, but, again, you're there to be a role model for your players.
Certainly. Looks like a good group.
Yeah. So let's see. So now we'll move on. And I don't know what I'm sort of going off script here, Gary, but this is 1988, 89. And I'm the coach there at the end. So this is the Lower Merion High School JV team.
Oh, okay.
So this was sort of my first entree into the coaching world. I had finished my fourth year of eligibility at Drexel University and had an opportunity to become the JV coach at Lower Merion. So I took it, and it was interesting. Wasn't allowed to make any cuts. So definitely had an interesting substitution strategy, but these kids were really good. I mean, they all played. Now this was before, I think there was a Lower Merion soccer club, so they all played for Wynwood, Narberth, Gladwin, sort of all the little clubs now that make up Lower Merion today. But
oh wow,
this was so it's interesting. This guy, second in from the bottom, he now works at the same company that I work at, so it's pretty interesting. I mean, these kids are probably so if they're sophomores, they're probably 15 and 16, and I was probably 22 at the time.
So what I usually ask people that have been on, who've gone into coaching and have been players, what the hardest part of coaching is, not being able to play and get out there and make the decision yourself. But your attire there tells me that quite a few of your practices involved you playing, and that kind of eased your way into coaching a little bit.
Yeah, so I so most people know me. I like to play soccer. I'm a soccer junkie. So I like to coach, play, watch soccer. So very early on, I was certainly involved in almost every activity. And to me, it was just a way to stay active, but also try to help demonstrate what I was trying to convey. I've changed a little bit now. I've since going through sort of the youth national course, my D, my C license. I pick and choose when I want to demonstrate or participate in activity, especially with younger kids. But with the older ones, I think it's okay. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Gary. Again, and also depending on numbers and what you're trying to accomplish. But definitely early on, my strategy was to be very active in the practices.
So the interesting here is that you started coaching before your family came along. So you were still playing at this time as well?
Yeah, so I was playing, I bounced around. So Monco Azori, United German Hungarians, Philadelphia Inter. There was the Cricket Club League, which I played for Allegro. So again, still pretty active in playing. Again, probably 21 to 23, just finishing up college. So still very much enjoying the game, still very much playing at for then a highly competitive, amateur level, I would say.
That's cool. And then so fast forward a little bit further to when you start becoming involved with the club, as in Colonial Soccer Club. When did you reinsert yourself into the club, or did you never go away from it?
No, I definitely went away. So I got married, had a family, have two daughters. So I started coaching my younger daughter, or my oldest daughter, first. And to be honest, that probably went very sideways, if I'm being honest, and poorly is probably more an honest evaluation. So learned a lot of valuable lessons. So if I can convey one thing, probably one of the hardest things, and Gary, you can probably resonate with this, is that coaching your own kid is probably one of the hardest things to do, and you should be humble enough and aware enough to realize that you need help. You shouldn't really be instructing your own kid on a regular basis. I think it's probably not healthy for you, your child, for the team. So don't be afraid to get your assistants involved and helping you out. I mean, that was a pretty valuable lesson that I learned the hard way. And so hopefully, again, takeaways from this, younger coaches who have kids, it's great to coach your own kids. There's a lot of great rewards out of it, but I think kids sometimes have a hard time understanding, the parent role versus the coach role. And so that's
definitely
just one thing.
Definitely a maturity level there. And the thing that most people are probably smiling watching this is that they've been sat at home homeschooling, and we know how painful that is, and thank goodness for teachers. That's what we can say from that. So
absolutely. So moving forward to then, my second daughter came along. She was probably a little bit more involved, and realized that Colonial didn't really have any formalized program for intramurals past the fall. And so I went to the club board and said, hey, I want to do some things, with some rec kids in the spring. And they said, oh, well, tell us what you're thinking. And so kind of set up a bunch of mini clinics, sort of pick up, and it worked out pretty well. And next thing I know, they said, hey, you're going to be our director of coaching. And I said, okay, and didn't know what that was. And so I very quickly went out and did a lot of research and spoke to other directors of coaching, and understood that, now I'm responsible for the curriculum for the club members, for the players, at all age groups, at all levels. And so, Colonial Soccer Club is a community-based club. It's primarily, 99% run by volunteers. And so, the first thing I sort of did was took inventory of, who are our coaches, what do they know, and what sort of programming do we offer? And once I had that sort of baseline, tried to implement things where get the volunteers what they need to become better coaches, and then start offering more and different programming for the kids who want to play soccer. So, yeah. And again, just, it doesn't have to be anything of big scale. I mean, goalkeeper clinics, pickup play, just organized pickup play, what you guys would call street soccer. Just pick a night, show up, roll out some balls, cones, and pugs, and let them play. We relied heavily on EPYSA for a lot of the trainers to run the clinics that we started offering in the spring. We did some camps in the summer along with EPYSA. Back in the day, we started offering futsal. So again, we just, not necessarily a comprehensive program and nowhere near anything, something to the order of some of the more, I would say, professionally run clubs versus volunteer run clubs. But again, just tried to offer some more programming for those kids who want it, because some kids do want to do it all year round, but again, not everyone does. So we got to be flexible enough to say, hey, kids want to do basketball, baseball, and other activities, but if they also want to do futsal or spring soccer, we can offer some programming for them.
Yeah, that's awesome. And again, just to talk about the community itself, there's a pretty heavy soccer background in the area. I know, being around here for so many years. And there was always an over 30s team in Plymouth Whitemarsh or PW, which is Colonial. And then I believe there was a over 40s as well for a while too. And there's still, I believe, some of the guys get together and go on trips to Europe still playing. So the background's there, that helps. But the great thing that I liked, again, lucky enough to work with Doug, is actually he is one of those rare volunteer DOCs that, again, not a slight on people who get paid to do it, that's their profession, but he also runs a real life, and then also the passion for soccer comes through, but does it the right way and asks the right questions, and not afraid to ask for help, which is pretty cool. He also fishes, and I've got wrote down on my page here, don't talk about fishing with Doug, or this will go on for 3 hours. So I'm going to scoop it straight back to soccer. So a few questions. So you've already alluded to your team's Chelsea. Who is your favorite player, past and present?
Oh, geez. Past. I mean, so many good players. It's a tough one. I'm going to go really far back. I'm going to say Kevin Keegan.
Mm-hmm. You're playing up to me, right? You're playing up to me. I like it.
A little bit, but so again, dating myself, but the only soccer that was on TV back in 1982 was a program called Soccer Made in Germany. It was on public TV, and it was about a half hour every weekend showing German Bundesliga highlights. And so there was Kevin Keegan, and he was Bayern. I think he was Bayern.
Hamburg.
Hamburg. Okay. And I just thought it was cool, and he had this great mound of hair, and he was just a great midfielder to watch. Just had a great engine, really good vision, hard worker. Just just someone that I had looked up to. Present, again, so many good players. Messi is probably one of those once in a lifetime players, and we're just really fortunate to see him right now do just unbelievable things. He's probably my favorite. I also, having coach a girls team, the women's national team. I think Tobin Heath is amazing. I think Carly Lloyd, the whole team. I mean, they're really fun to watch. And just before the pandemic started, one of the last matches that I saw live was March 8th up in Red Bull Stadium, and they beat Spain, and it was just a great match to watch and a lot of fun. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So just to wrap up, because I don't want to take all your time up. You know, leaving the role of DOC. I know you're not leaving the club.
Right.
You can't. Your DNA's there. Do you see? What do you see? What do you see yourself doing now for the next couple of years within the club?
Yeah. So want to stay involved in the club, provide any guidance and help, fill in, if there's a coach who can't make it to a practice or a game, kind of chip in where I can. As you know, volunteer clubs always need volunteers. So happy to help out wherever I can. Longer term, I'm trying to find the right, say either organization or situation where I can walk in, whether it be an organization like Starfinder or Kensington Soccer Club or something within JT Dorsey's foundation where I can also assist. And that's no slight to Colonial. They're great and they've been really good to me, but there are a lot of underserved organizations that might be able to use someone, help, with sort of my background. So I'm been exploring those options.
Oh, that's awesome. And then when's the next time you're going to hit the water?
Well, checking the weather now, maybe late this evening might be an opportunity. How about yourself? When are you getting out?
Probably the weekend, looking at the rain that's coming in. It'll be the youngest one's coming out with me, so it'll be him pulling my line out of lots of trees that I cast into, no doubt. Yeah. But thanks for your time, Doug. Obviously, the community in your area really wants to say thank you, obviously, all the time, and it's great. And tight lines, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks for having me on.